the devil takes hold on your soul. My name is death and the end.
Thanks for returning that. Join me, Dean. Sit down. To a thing like me, a thing like you, you have an inflated sense of your importance. This is one little planet. I'm old Dean. Eat. Good.
How old are you?
As old as God. Maybe older. Life, death, regardless. At the end, I'll reap him too.
God? You'll reap God?
Oh, yes.
So then why am I still breathing?
Lucifer has me bound to him. Where he wants, when he wants. He made me his weapon. You can help me take the bullets out of Lucifer's gun. I understand you want this. There are conditions. You have to do whatever it takes to put Lucifer in his cell. Whatever it takes. So I need a promise. You're going to let your brother jump right into that fiery pit. Oh, do I have your word?
Yes.
You know you can't cheat death.
Let's cut right to the chase here. If you've ever watched even a single episode of Supernatural, you know the line. Saving people, hunting things, the family business. It's the mantra that's been stitched into every frame of the show, into the very bones of Dean Winchester's identity. For 15 seasons, we bought into the myth of the self-made hunter. The idea that Dean Winchester built himself from the ground up, that he's the tough as nails, no-nonsense badass who chose this life, who carved out his place in the world with a gun in one hand and a beer in the other. We saw him as the guy who defied every odd, who stared down demons and angels and gods alike, all on his own terms. But here's the kicker that most fans miss on the first watch, hell, even on the fifth rewatch. That myth, it was never real. It was a trap. A carefully constructed story laid out before Dean was even born, and every step he took to embrace that hunter identity, every time he leaned into that self-made reputation, he was just walking deeper into the cage that the universe had built for him. Ida, I know. Wild, right? The guy we all thought was the ultimate rebel against destiny was actually playing the part he was written for, before he even took his first breath. To unpack this myth, we have to go back to the very beginning. Not just the start of the show, but the start of Dean Winchester. He was 4 years old when his mom burned on the ceiling. 4 years old when his dad handed him a baby Sam and told him to protect his little brother no matter what. In that single moment, the life Dean Winchester would lead was decided for him. He didn't choose to be a hunter. He didn't choose to be a protector. He was handed that role before he could even tie his own shoes. John Winchester didn't raise a son. He raised a soldier. A tool to avenge Mary's death and to keep Sam safe. And for the longest time, Dean wore that role like a badge of honor. He leaned into it. He became the best hunter in the game. He could hotwire any car in under a minute. He could ID a monster from a single scratch on a victim's body. He could take down a nest of vampires with nothing but a machete and a well-timed one-liner. And we all cheered for him. We called him the self-made hunter. We praised him for mastering this life that was forced on him before he could even read. But here's the thing. Mastering a cage doesn't mean you're not trapped. It just means you've learned how to live in it comfortably. Let's talk about that early season defiance, because That's where the myth really starts to take shape. Seasons 1 through 3 show us a Dean Winchester who's constantly pushing back against the hand he's been dealt. He's loyal to his dad, sure, but he's not afraid to call Jon out on his bullshit. He questions Jon's orders. He sneaks around to do what he thinks is right, even when it goes against Jon's plans. In Season 1, Episode 12, Faith, we see it clear as day. Dean's got a heart attack, he's got weeks to live, and Jon doesn't even bother to show up. He just sends a few phone numbers and calls it a day. And what does Dean do? He doesn't sit around and wait for his dad to fix it. He doesn't accept his fate. He goes out, he finds a faith healer, he cheats death, even when he knows there's a cost. That's the Dean we fell in love with. The guy who doesn't take no for an answer, who flips the bird to destiny, who fights for every breath he takes. We see it again in Season 2, after Jon's death. Dean's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's got his dad's secret, that he traded his own life for Dean's, and the command to save Sam or kill him if he can't. And what does he do? He refuses to play by those rules. He spends the entire season fighting to save Sam, not just from the demons, but from the fate Jon laid out for him. He doesn't want to be the executioner. He doesn't want to be the soldier anymore. He wants to be a brother. He wants to have a choice. Even in Season 3, when he's got the Hellhound contract hanging over his head, a year left to live, he still defies what everyone expects of him. He jokes, he drinks, he hooks up, he keeps hunting, he keeps saving people. He doesn't curl up and die. He doesn't accept that he's going to hell. He fights it right up until the very end, when the Hellhounds tear him apart in that barn. We look at all of this, and we call it defiance. We call it proof that Dean Winchester is the self-made hunter, the guy who writes his own story. But what if that defiance was part of the story all along? What if every time he pushed back, every time he flipped the bird to fate, he was just checking another box in the script that had already been written for him? That's where the myth of the righteous man comes in. This is the foundational trap, the one that the entire show is built around, and it's set in motion long before Dean ever steps foot in hell. We first hear the phrase, the righteous man, in Season 4, when Castiel yanks Dean out of the pit. Cast tells him, straight to his face, that he is the righteous man who walked out of hell, that he is the only one who can stop the apocalypse, that his actions in hell broke the first seal and set the entire end of the world in motion. And for seasons, we buy into this idea. We think that Dean earned this title, that he became the righteous man through his choices, through his suffering, through his defiance. But here's the truth that the show slowly reveals, piece by piece, over 15 years. The righteous man was never a title Dean earned. It was a label that was stuck on him before he was even born. It was a trap, built by the writers of the universe, by Chuck Shirley himself, to ensure that Dean would play exactly the part he was meant to play in the cosmic story. Let's break this down. The entire apocalypse arc, the entire reason Lilith is killing people, the entire reason the seals are breaking, all hinges on one thing. The righteous man must shed blood in hell to break the first seal. The angels knew this. The demons knew this. Chuck knew this. Everyone knew this except for Dean. Everyone had a stake in making sure that Dean Winchester ended up in hell, that he was tortured, that he finally broke and took up the blade to torture other souls. That's why the Crossroads deal was allowed to happen. That's why Sam couldn't save him, no matter how hard he tried. That's why the angels didn't step in until after the seal was broken. They needed Dean to go to hell. They needed him to break. They needed him to become the righteous man, not because of his inherent goodness, but because his suffering was the key to starting the apocalypse.